نور على نور، نور على نور، يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء، ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس والله بكل شيء عليم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ألم تر أن الله يزجي سحابا ثم يؤلف بينه ثم يجعله ركاما فترى الودق يخرج من خلاله وينزل من السماء من جبال فيها من برد فيصيب به من يشاء ويصرفه عن من يشاء يكاد سنا برقه يذهب بالأبصار يقلب الله الليل والنهار إن في ذلك لعبرة لأولي الأبصار. والله خلق كل دابة من ماء فمنهم من يمشي على بطنه ومنهم من يمشي على رجلين ومنهم من يمشي على أربع يخلق الله ما يشاء إن الله على كل شيء قدير. لقد أنزلنا آيات مبينات والله يهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
ما شاء الله.
الحمد لله.
صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم.
تقبل الله منا ومنكم. For those of you who still stuck around, Jazakumullah khairan. We really apologize for that. نعم. Maulana Zakaria, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope that wasn't my fault, Maulana.
No, it wasn't.
Alhamdulillah. You guys heard it wasn't my fault. Man.
Subhanallah.
But it was your
It
fault
just
that you were
happened to
late.
coincide with the late coming of Maulana Zakaria.
His level of drama every time he comes late is just rising. And
I never
rising
came
and
late
rising.
before you.
Not here, but just like
Every time you come late, and
every
you
time
say,
you make
I
an
don't come
entrance,
late.
when you make an entrance,
Listen, I never
it's
missed
becoming
one of
more
these
and
Zoom
more.
Tafakkur. You missed one already. So you were late for that whole one.
Rob,
Maulana Zakaria, you've missed out on a beautiful introduction. You looked at the verses, how Allah Ta'ala reminds us, especially at the beginning of Surah Al-Anbiya, اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون.
I was listening.
Oh, you were listening. Okay. So you want to comment on any of that before we move on from that, inshallah? Bismillah.
Read the verse again, please.
The same one.
Yeah, just the beginning.
اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون.
Yeah, so the thought that came to my mind when I was actually listening to you guys speak about it, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad, is that the idea that death is approaching, man, and it almost reminded me, or it has this imagery of you being stationary and something rushing towards you, And as that thing's rushing towards you, the natural human instinct is to jump out of the way. You imagine a car coming, trying to, about to crash into you. The natural human instinct, any sane person,
Save yourself from it.
will jump out of the way.
Yeah.
But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, nah, but but the state of human beings, when this thing is rushing onto them, is they're actually turning away from it, They're turning away.
Maybe move slightly closer
They-
to one another.
they're
No,
turning-
leave the mic.
Okay.
Because the mic is actually going to be in your face if you do that. So you can rather just turn.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the bus is coming at you. Or a train or whatever you want to think of it.
go
It's
worrying.
coming at you.
Mm.
But not even are you not worried. You're not even attempting to get out of the way. In fact, you're so unbothered, you turned away. You're oblivious to the fact that it's coming at you.
في غفلة and معرضون.
Yeah. And then the other thought that came to mind is the idea of ghafla, man. They are fi ghaflatin. They are in a state of heedlessness. Mu'aridun, and they're turning away. So what are they ghafil of? What are they heedless of? They're heedless of the death that's approaching them. And in addition to or that reckoning that's approaching them, they are unaware of that. But then also when we think about the opposite of ghafla. The opposite of ghafla is dhikr. And so the person that lives his life in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, death never comes to him suddenly.
Ya Rab.
Death never comes to him suddenly. Because that's what he's expecting. And if you're always expecting something, how can it spring up upon you?
Ya Rab.
And it just reminded me of the fact that, that's how we're supposed to live. Sometimes you get heightened moments in your life where, you think to yourself, I'm going to live every moment as if I'm going to die in the next moment. But then other times it's like death is like the furthest thing from your
Sheikh
mind.
Ibrahim always says it
You
before
know-
Salana. You mentioned it the other night.
I can't.
Sallu salat al-muwaddi'.
Yeah, but it's sunnah.
Make it as a-
It's sunnah
make it as
to
your last
recite
salah.
that sometimes.
But we don't think about it like that also, no?
I explained, I said imagine before you say Allahu Akbar, imagine that Malak al-Maut taps you on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And then he says,
Kombutachi.
I'm supposed to take your ruh now. But, okay, first finish your salah, then I'll take your ruh.
Yo.
How will you make salah now?
Subhanallah, this point when Zakaria, with the perspective that he brought on this ghafla, man, right? And bringing into perspective that the ghafla is the opposite of dhikr, man. And if you're in the dhikr of Allah, then you actually, death doesn't actually come to you by surprise, man, right? Then I can't but help think about the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ. And when they forget, فَلَمَّا نَسُوا, when they forget مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ, that which they were reminded of it. So like Mullah Irshad said earlier, we all say we're going to die, we know we're going to die, we all talk about we're going to have to be accountable, we know this, we know that, we said it and whatever. فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا. And this is the danger, when we forget what we've actually been reminded with already. فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we open for them the doors of everything. حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا. And they become, now they're getting everything, and it's almost like you've turned away, you've forgotten, right? And when do you forget something, man? You forget something when you don't make it part of your life. You forget something, simple example. When you learn something, the best way to remember it is to teach. You learn it, you teach it. For example, take a subject. You learn a subject, you teach the subject, you never forget the subject. But now you learn something, and then you just put it in the backseat somewhere, and then you forget about it, man. Which means you didn't act on it, man. So فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah opens now the doors of everything. It's almost like you can have whatever of this dunya now. It's not going to matter. And then حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا. And this verse really scares me. حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا. Until they actually become happy with what they've been given. And then حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا أَخَذْنَاهُمْ بَغْتَةً. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we seize them suddenly, all of a sudden. So like the danger of ghafla, man, is that your ending is at stake, man. Like how are you going to leave this world, man? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to leave this world in a beautiful way.
Ameen.
I told we were chatting earlier, so I said, how you want to end. Here's a
We're
quote
going to
for
do the
you.
next set of verses, inshallah.
Here's a quote for you, Mullah Irshad.
No.
With your life, How you want to end it, that's how you must spend it.
Mm.
Because if you spend it that way, you will end it that way.
Ya Rab.
Because you don't know when it's going to end,
Ya Rab.
but you know what you have to spend. And you spend it that way, you're alive, you have a breath in your body, you spend it in a certain way. Bi-idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah take us from this world where we're busy with good.
Ameen.
Ameen ya Rab.
I just want waiting for the new link to forward to my status.
Oh, is there new?
Was there not enough stress for me tonight yet, Salim? Father Zakaria.
Subhanallah. And then I just also had a thought on the other point that you guys were discussing, that we must say welcome to our brother
Dr. Yusuf.
Maulana Dr. Yusuf here, mashallah, sharing his gems with us as well. We must get him on one net, Maulana.
Yeah, inshallah. We are going to.
Nice.
When did I say we're going to do that? Doc, I don't know if Maulana Mujahid spoke with you yet, but we will be getting you on for speaking about, what's it called now? Olive,
Sweet olive.
sweet olive. Naam.
That's Dr. Yusuf Patel that we got here.
Oh, is this Dr. Yusuf Patel? How do you know?
I can tell, man.
You can tell that it's Dr.
Spiritual
Yusuf Patel.
connections, yeah? Huh?
I was also going to ask which Dr. Yusuf is it?
No, it's
Okay.
Dr. Yusuf Patel.
Okay, fadlu.
So anyway, so the other thing I was thinking about, you guys were talking about, having sincerity and stuff like that, and doing things, trying to couple what you do publicly with what you do, in private. And that other song came to me that people send around. There's no way I'm going to sing it. But
Nah, don't be so, man.
I knew
You
it was
already came
coming.
late, man.
yeah.
Sing the song.
No,
bro.
no.
Don't be so.
But it goes
How does
something
it go? How does it
هل
tune?
لك سر عند الله? Do you have any secrets with Allah? هل لك سر عند الله? And then
بينك أنت
بينك
وبين الله.
أنت وبين الله. That's just between you and Allah. هل لك صدقات تخفى? Do you have perhaps a charity that you've concealed? لا يعلمها إلا الله, that none knows of besides Allah. And it reminded me of one of the the grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I think it was Hassan radiallahu anhu, where they say when people would come knocking at his door for charity, then he would give the charity from behind the door, so that he gives them something, he doesn't take anything from them. Because sometimes when you see the person that you're giving the charity, you take something from them, a little bit of their dignity. You take from them the fact that they know you know who they are. But you wanted to do it so sincerely for the sake of Allah that he didn't want anything out of it, no worldly thing out of it. And that just reminded me of it, and I think it's quite profound, the idea that we must do everything for the sake of Allah. Another thing that came to mind in these verses is the very next verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about that same idea of those people that their reckoning is coming, rushing at them, and then they turn away from it, and whilst they're heedless. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يَأْتِيهِم مِّن ذِكْرٍ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ مُحْدَثٍ إِلَّا اسْتَمَعُوهُ وَهُمْ يَلْعَبُونَ. No reminder comes to them from their Lord, right? Except that they listen to that reminder whilst they're actually playing. They're busy playing in other things. And this idea of play, it's important, and it's something we must actually discuss. I think it's worth discussing on account of the fact that, in our time especially, we have this idea of gaming culture. It's big amongst the youth. Maybe people from my generation up won't have experienced it. Okay, my generation is in it. I'm this generation. I'm only 30, but I mean, from Mullah,
You 30 already, man?
yeah, from Mullah Irshad's generation,
You
the old
30
guys
already, man?
up.
Hello.
I'm the only one. I'm the only one in my 20s. Yeah.
Look here.
You won't be able to conceive of it the way that our generation do, man. But this gaming culture is a real thing. Some people think they have this idea that as long as you're not harming anyone, you can do whatever you want to. So the idea of sitting in your home playing games all day, it seems like an okay thing, because it doesn't break the principle of
causing
non-violence.
harm to others.
I'm not harming anyone. So what I'm doing,
until you pick up a samurai sword and run through the screen.
no, not from that perspective, man. Just the idea that you can get so consumed in these games and your life becomes purposeless. There may be harms to it. People may become depressed on account of not having real relationships in their lives and other things like that. But as a Muslim, there's a fundamental problem with that, man. That your life is supposed to be about connectedness and connection with Allah, not about drowning away or drowning out.
Look, yeah, I
any
need to
other type of
jump in
remembrance.
here. I need to jump in here. It's very
Whilst
important.
at the same time, I'm not saying playing games is wrong.
Yeah, no, I want
But
to
as an
take it a step
escapism.
further. It is not wrong at all. Look here, I understand in relation to us,
Yeah.
right? If you're gonna sit, if Ahmad's gonna sit and play games all day, then my bro, you need a clap. But for people out of the circles, out of touch with Deen, out of touch with Allah, with His Salah, I would 100,000 times rather have them play games than do the other stuff that they could potentially be doing, you know? So what is required is an understanding that as long as you stay away from haram and you do what is fard upon you, if you use your extra time to engage in play and amusement, it's okay, but too much of it is going to be problematic. That's how I would say it.
And then people's gonna ask, so what is too much, right? And
Too
that's
much of it is when you don't do your fard and you don't stay away from haram.
exactly.
No, and also, yeah. But when we say don't, you do whatever's fard upon you, and
We're
you stay
talking
away
about
from
games.
haram.
Send this to all the gamers.
That we're not opposed to gamers.
No,
But
we're
when-
not.
Yeah, when gaming becomes a lifestyle, then it's.
Shout out to my
There's-
Clash of Clans crew.
But there are elements that can become problematic, man. Because what's fard upon you is not only to make your salah. What about your sibling or your mother or the person that lives with you that
No.
needs from your time also just because of social interaction? What about your body, your own need for real interaction?
No.
That can easily be drowned out, man. And
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
may be thinking that I am fulfilling, all that is wajib upon me. I make my salah. I break away for my 5 minutes and I make my salah. I do all of those things. But actually, you have a lot more responsibility outside of that.
yeah.
And I think our generation have lost this appreciation for responsibility, man.
Yeah.
How many youngsters our age think to themselves, look here, I need to get to a stage where I can support my parents. Oftentimes, it's more likely you'll be having guys that's 35 years old, living with their moms, whatever, with no idea or with no thought of having responsibility. They just, focused playing whatever. So, in this surah, actually, Allah mentions on a few occasions this root la'ib. And so it just brought to mind this idea. Back in the day, we could be playing games, even if you're playing games for super long.
With Mario Brothers. We
Mario
turn the
Brothers,
remote like that.
Leave
and-
Mario Brothers, even if it's like something like FIFA or something like that. Man.
Yeah.
But you either playing with a computer,
Uh,
right? Where I'm not going to get any real personal interaction with this thing. I'm not going to see to my social needs or anything like that. Or you playing with the person that's actually sitting next to you.
Cadillacs and dinosaurs, maybe.
Now,
But look
really,
here,
that's going way
you-
back. Man, eh?
just one correction. You couldn't possibly play that long because the adapter will get hot and then you must stop.
I'm not talking about that
You
long
must
ago.
blow in the cartridge. You must blow in the cartridge.
Again, I'm in my 20s. I'm just saying.
Now, I'm not.
Hey, you're 29, brother.
You 50? Are you 50?
No.
Oh, yes. 3rd of May.
Yeah.
Same day.
Hij is nog net achter die oren.
I'm
I still
milking
don't
this-
know what
I'm
that's
milking
saying.
3rd of
the
May.
fact-
What's today?
Today's the first.
Today's the first.
I'm
Monday.
milking the last of it.
No, so same day like my daddy actually. But
Mashallah.
Can we say that is like beneficial games and less
No,
beneficial games?
Look here, man.
Just I want to
You
finish
know
the point I was
that
making.
do you
In the
know that you're
context of what
speaking
you're
at a very
speaking
high
about.
level? Do you acknowledge that?
Yeah, like I was gonna.
I don't.
I was gonna listen to you, no?
Then you're bitchy in your bubble now.
Because-
Let me break
Hear me out.
reality
Hear me
for
out.
you.
So you were going on this particular thing.
No,
right?
man. I just want to say something. Quickly. Let me just finish the point I was making.
Bismillah.
Right? The point I was making was right when we used to play games.
Yes.
Right. Even though our parents may have called us out, you can't play so much. Blah
Yeah,
blah
yeah.
blah blah blah. Right. I'm playing either with a computer or
Yes.
I'm playing with the person that's really next to me. Man. There's
Right.
gonna come a point at which we switch the game off and talk to each other.
Yes.
Right. But now, because of the whole online gaming community and stuff like that,
Yes.
sometimes people don't see the need to have circles beyond that. Like if you ask them, who's your friends? Nah, this person, that person, that they play online with. And because they spend so much time playing online, that literally becomes their only social circle.
So you're a real person with a virtual
so you are
life.
describing that's a very big imbalance, man. You with me?
Yeah.
So in that type of when you're sitting with an imbalance like this, that's what we call an extreme case. You need to
No. That's becoming a cultural
Yeah, that's
normal.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, true.
Okay, so if that is you, that's imbalanced.
Well,
But for the person who's circling, man, right? They were in haram, and I think I came from that generation where like you were looking for halal alternatives to have fun, man, right? And it was important that scholars highlighted this for you, man. Look, it's okay to play a game of pool. It's okay to do, because when you become sort of righteous, then you start thinking anything that's fun is haram, and that's rubbish, man. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you one.
So it's a very important topic, but at the same time, it's also important for us to explain,
the bounds of it.
yeah, and what levels we are actually addressing
Look,
at
let
that
me
moment.
let me come in here from a just like a on the ground reality type of thing, right? So I coach youth, right? And a lot of them is actually sitting with this type of thing. I have a kid-
Mashallah, can I just disturb you for
Hold
Dr.
on.
Yusuf's comment? He says Imam Raghib al-Isfahani, he actually was one of his inspirations. He always quotes him, mashallah. He wrote a treatise on the etiquettes of playing chess, discussing how to find a balance in such activities. It's interesting. But of course, Dr. Yusuf, you know that the Shafi mother wouldn't quite like that book.
But I think the guidelines in this topic is important, right? So what Mullah Zakaria is saying, he's coming from a perspective of the reality on the ground right now. I have youth, right, that come, that's like in a coaching process.
You are youth.
Yeah, but
Younger
like youth. I'm talking like younger kids,
Yeah.
like 12, 13, 9, 15, 16, and like all of them. So we work like in part of our coaching process is you talking about your goals and your schedule and everything, and it's part of the planning. Like one of the kids is like, look here, I wanna ace my school, right? I wanna like get high grades in school, but at the same time I want to perfect this gaming because I got a job opportunity in this thing to play for this and whatever. So he's like, we like trying to schedule hours in where he's playing and getting a few extra hours of practice in and whatever without neglecting his salah and whatever, and he's working on like a daily schedule. And so what Zakaria is saying, or Mullah Zakaria is saying now, is that look here, more than you can imagine, it's a massive thing, man. It's not anymore like, look here, what can we do now? Because, there's so much, whatever, man. The world is on their phones, on their screens, like everywhere, man. It's actually part of their lives. So what I wanted to say was, everything Mullah Zakaria is saying, we need to look at what is the concept he's saying behind that, man. And he brought it from the verse we were speaking about, remembering Allah
Listen,
subhanahu wa ta'ala, man.
It sounds like I'm like the youngest guy. I don't think you're like imagining it the way I am. But
Where do you come on? You're the youngest guy here.
like in terms
We
of
just
mindset,
established that.
no,
Okay, ma.
he's really the youngest. Because what I'm talking about is like there's people that play games.
You're right.
Cool.
Then there's gamers.
Then there's gaming culture,
Yeah.
right? And in this gaming culture,
Oh, yeah, that's a big thing. Kasam, this for
how
me
other
also,
people play games.
it's puzzling.
No,
Like,
that's what I'm
it's
talking
such a
about.
culture that
This is
lighties don't play. Never mind play games. They watch other lighties play games.
That's what I'm talking about.
for
It's gaming
hours on
culture.
end. Wow.
Because
No, it's not. Yeah.
So the gaming culture is about, like, for the most part of a person's free time, they're busy playing games into wee hours of the night with people elsewhere in the world. Their life clocks get shifted because they're playing with people in
Yeah.
other time zones.
Yeah.
They don't sleep normally.
Nah, that's
They-
crazy.
No, it's
That's a
normal.
Heavy imbalance.
normal.
It's becoming normal.
And I just wanted to say something.
No.
The thing
And
about
it's not
watching,
seen as, and it's not seen. It's becoming normal, and it's not seen as something bad
Mm.
because the person's not harming anyone else.
Mm.
But also, this is now
Now-
past the level of games, man.
yeah. Now this
Yeah.
is what
No,
This
it's
is now-
not.
No, yes, it is.
It's gaming culture,
Yeah.
and it's big in the world.
So
Yes, but-
gaming culture is not Owens playing games, man.
No.
It's strategy. It's it's what's it?
Hey,
Look here, let
that's
me-
just
Divide
being
and conquer
technical.
that- no.
That's just being technical.
Look
It's
here.
still
Did you
playing
watch how
games.
the man play it?
No.
Yeah,
let me
I've seen it.
like
I've
the
seen
let me
it.
tell.
strategy
Let
and
me just touch on
the
what Mullah
stuff
Zakaria is
involved.
talking
They're
about in terms of
basically
the
taking
culture.
it
No?
too far.
The first thing is people watching other people play games. It's number one, they're like checking strategies, they're seeing how they do it, but the culture around it is like you can tie it into sports. My brother right now, right, is,
Yo, how do
is
you
in-
go from a whisper to a shout like that, man? Like you got the talent for doing that.
Excitement.
Bismillah.
my brother right now is busy with like rugby. Rugby's big in his life.
Right.
So what happens is there's a culture around it. He's up at a certain time in the morning. He's in bed at a certain time at night. He's putting in certain amount of hours onto the field and da. He's watching rugby for a certain amount of hours. He's reading about rugby for a certain amount of hours. That's the culture around it, man. Namal Zakaria saying gaming has that whole culture where it's like, look here, at this time of the night, I'm sitting with people, young married couples, where the guy is like, look here, I need to game, man. And she's like, hey bro, this bro wanna sit on the screen 12 o'clock the night. He's like, but that's the time my team is busy. And she don't understand. And so like now we have young couples that's also because, and that's what I'm saying, it's more real than we think, man. So it's now even affecting marriages, young marriages, because his team plays at 12 o'clock in the night. And whatever, but I don't bother her. She can sleep like peacefully, and then you know what? But it's like Mullah Zakaria said, the whole world now is different access.
There's Dr. Yusuf is making the point that I'm making, right? So the culture of gaming has created an artificial realm. I watch other people make coffee. You watch people, set up their studios. Ahmed watches people.
How did you know?
Huh?
Do you watch what they do?
Ahmed watches people do whatever weird stuff he does. Salim watches people. Salim watches people
surfing.
reading Quran, surfing. He watches people surfing, right? All of us do that, man. It's part of being into something. You want to learn more about it. The difference is when it comes to the gaming culture, it can seem like an alternate reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watch people make coffee.
I just want to say that when I started out talking about this, this is not what I was referring to.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Like this is like another level.
Can we say this? Can we say this? Whether it's gaming, whether it's surfing, whether it's coffee,
tech,
whether it's studio building, when that thing
consumes
you to the point that you are now becoming unmindful. And you are now becoming heedless of your role here. Because what's the other verse? Did Allah then just put you here? Did Allah then just put you here just so because Allah wanted to? And now you can decide, okay, look at here. This is what I'm going to allow to consume me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what does it come down to spiritually?
From that point, anything would essentially become a game and a play, man.
Yeah.
So
what does it come down to spiritually? Spiritually, this is called hubbud dunya.
Let me just like
no, it's more akin to ghafla, because what happens here is
and hubbud dunya.
What happens here is, right,
it's definitely ghafla.
Look here, let me just add this before you continue, is that this is what I was saying from a coaching perspective. These kids come to a coaching session, which is now how we're gonna get your life so that you're happier, healthier, more responsible, aligned, blah blah blah. And they're saying, this is like they're saying, look, I need to game all the time. How do I fit my life into it? Wallahi love him. I have a guy that young kid. He's sitting like at least 8 hours a day on games playing.
It's a full-time job.
Listen, yes, exactly.
8 hours.
It's a little. But look here, I was going to tell you now. That's after like a few months in a process, man. And now he's going to drop down maybe to 6. But listen, what he did to still make up the 8 hours, because he needs to practice to be able to stay selected for the teams and whatever, was he started getting up at 3 in the morning to put in 2 hours of practice. And then he can do his school homework from 5, and then he can get ready. But then he's up for Fajr, so it was working out. And in terms of, overall, he's like, look, I'm up, so I am up, so I make Fajr and whatever. I wake my home with him. And we were like, but he was in this process, man. But Wallah, he started much more than that. Like all the time, they have to take him away. Then he goes to school, then he's back there. Then they take him away to eat. Then like all the time. So we have to condition him out of it. And literally, this is it. It's like, here's a world. And how does my normal world fit into this? How do I go to school? How do I, everything else when I'm supposed to be here?
And actually, for many youngsters, that becomes the preferred world.
Yeah.
And it's like, some people, especially old people, may be thinking, what?
Can you imagine how the world is going to be in a couple of years when these
your skin.
when these delinquents are
That's exactly it.
You can
going to
choose your
run the
skin,
world?
my bro.
Look here.
Exactly
Can I just say something? How ajib is it now that the words selected by the Quran describes, as we go, into the future, it describes it more and more accurately. You know what I mean? Like, اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون. I ask you, what غفلة في غفلة معرضون was there 1400 years ago?
Yeah.
Poetry.
Just think about
You're
it.
busy with your poetry, playing with your horses, chasing.
And I mean, Allah
ladies.
uses يلعبون معرضون في غفلة. It's like we it's like a prediction, not like it is a testimony, a prophecy that we are going to become a world of zombies, a zombie nation. People talk about the zombie apocalypse and all of that. Hey bro, you don't need to wait for people to rise from their graves. There's already dead people walking around, man, when they're spiritually dead.
But that was there already 1400
But I
years
think-
ago
I
when
think
the
also,
Quran was
man-
revealed, man, in a form that they knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
And you see,
as it
what's the
progressed,
test?
yo,
What's the test on this dunya? The test on this dunya is free choice.
The
Like
red
if
pill of
you
the
bring
blue
it
pill.
right down, it's choice. Every moment of your life, what are you choosing? Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes us or ourselves, us and jinn as thaqalain. Why? Because we have the ability to choose. Right? So in other liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. The test is, look here, the best in deeds. So you have the ability to choose. Now what's happening is the following, and this is why we need to address it, is that the level of free choice is just now almost like it's on steroids. Before, if they lock you in your room, you have very little free choice in terms of, like, you know, what you can do. Now if you're locked up in your room, the level of free choice is magnified. The computer, your phone, and this
You
and
actually
that.
want them must lock you in your
No,
room.
man, I think just, in still speaking
Salam.
about that gaming culture, you're talking about you have to make choices, right? And that's part of life. But what I'm talking about is that for the person that's so engrossed in his gaming, then the choice that he's going to be making is, he's not going to be even thinking, look here, I must make a choice about sitting here or sitting with my family inside and having a chat.
Yes.
He's going to be, his choice that he's making is, okay, which choice do I make in this alternate reality? Do I buy this thing? Do I buy that thing? You know, funny story. My aunt was telling me now, not too long ago, about two sons, man. The one son had, the one son had like a PlayStation or something. This is very important, bro.
Say.
Right? Now I'm saying this whole discussion. This whole discussion is very important. I don't think we must use less time on it. But so one of the things she was telling me was that the one son, it was like a funny story. The one son had a PlayStation. He's the elder son, and he put his, you have your profile on your console, and he had his bank details attached to his account, because if he logs in, then he can buy his stuff whenever he needs to. Then the younger brother came one day when the console was still logged into his account, and then he spent a grand's worth of money in the game.
That happened the other day, yeah. My niece was here and she had the iPad that my daughter usually uses.
Yeah.
It's a tablet, not the iPad. And then she bought something because my wife's account was attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife called me and we quickly had to find where because she was busy buying a children's game. But look here, in addition to this, remember what we just spoke about now, no? About the ghafla. وهم في غفلة معرضون.
Well, just on that point, man, there's that. Just imagine this. There's the idea that you can get so engrossed into this game that you will go out and earn money
And spend.
and buy food or stuff to sustain your character in a game. You're not even going to taste any of it, brother. You may be buying food, liquor food, whatever it is, mana on the game that you're playing, but you don't even get the pleasure of that in real life, man. But still, people find it a fine prospect to do. And it just shows the extent to which this gaming culture actually becomes part of people's life, and it actually becomes their realm. And like I'm saying, I'm talking about this and I think I'm fairly passionate about it because of the fact that, it is essentially a form of heedlessness. And again, I must clarify, I'm not against people playing games. I'm against the game becoming the purpose of your life.
Yeah.
And it's in that game. Well, Sally mentioned something just now in the whole chaos when we were all screaming over Makaya, is that they get, you see, you're gonna, when you get fed, something's getting fed, man. Right? So the thing that must runs completely loose is the nafs. So the nafs get fed in a game, no? In such a way that someone who's not accepted in his environment at home, he's accepted there. He's maybe, everyone's at home telling him, you're useless, you just sit here all day, you do nothing. In the game, they're like, yo, my bro, he's back, he's gevaarlijk, he's the main. Now he feels, my bro, I feel like I'm the boss. Then other people, even authority, they have, they don't get to exercise authority in certain spaces, they get to do that there. They don't get to show off and get acknowledgement in certain places, they get the acknowledgement there. So as well as Zachariah is talking about, these kids are in their world. What world are we shaping around them, actually drawing them to that world, man?
What people don't understand, Maf, I spoke about this in Tarawih. Nabi Isa alayhi salam was an ascetic man, and many of his statements that are recorded, I mean, we don't know the true authenticity of it, but it's Israeliyat. Many of his statements are about hubbud dunya, man. And the point that he often, what I noticed is that Nabi Isa often spoke about Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, for those of you who perhaps of the non-Muslim faith. He often said, like, look here, be careful of the love of the world, man, because your heart that was designed by Allah, your heart is designed to hold love. But what love? Love of Allah. And the relationship between your love of Allah and your love of dunya or materialism is inversely proportionate. So the more you love dunya, the less capacity your heart has to love Allah. And the more dunya fills your heart, the more your heart will be in a state of disarray. And that's why you will never be filled. He said, like, the person who chases after dunya to satisfy their pleasures, it's like the person who drinks seawater to satisfy their thirst. You will never get it. These days we call it the hedonic treadmill. Where you walk and you walk and you walk and you walk. Every time you want more, you want more, you want more, and it will never ever be satisfied because it's just not.
Yeah.
But the moment you drown your heart in the remembrance of Allah and the love of Allah, like now in Ramadan, why do we feel the way we do in Ramadan? Because we stop our nonsense and you focus more and you fill your day and your night with the dhikr of Allah in your heart, despite the difficulty that is apparent, your hunger, your thirst, your Now, what was I saying?
This concept.
Oh yeah, this concept of gaming that you guys are describing, man, that I kind of was aware of but didn't know that it's so prevalent. I think this concept is a typical example of how, a permissible thing can become destructive, because of the love of it, man. The thing itself is fine. It's like with dunya. Dunya and money and all of these things in and of itself is technically okay. But it's the love of those things. When it becomes a passion, when it becomes a obsession, that's when it becomes problematic, because now you are displacing something.
Yeah.
And the thing that you're displacing is ma'rifatullah, is your connection to Allah.
No.
And that's the danger.
With the purpose of your life. You're changing the purpose
and
of
what
your life.
Zakaria is saying is another thing that you're displacing along with it, or other things that you are displacing, are things like responsibility, or things like, hukuk, man. Look here, to yourself, to your family. Because this youngster that I mentioned that was in a coaching process, the imbalance was, look here, he's all the time on the games, right? But look here, me and my mom can't even have a conversation. Me and my siblings never even, talk, nothing. Besides the fact that he wasn't making salah or anything. So now what's happening is, and this is where we're saying, look here, it's there, man. But your objective must be, look here, there needs to be that. So as we're cutting down on gaming, but at the same time learning to become more effective, so you can still potentially get paid for it and whatever. Because it's people are getting paid to say, look here, come play here, come play this. So he really wants this as a job. But I told him, look here, if you want this, right, this is what you want to be. But who do you want to be in the same time, man? Do you want to be someone that has this, but has nobody around him, no family, no this, no that?
It requires tremendous responsibility and maturity.
This is something
with different perspective. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وابتغ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة. Use or search via what Allah had given you for the year after. Right? So I'm a gamer. Allah gave me and blessed me with strategic mind, quiet thumbs, this is what I'm in.
Yeah.
I get realization. No. Hang on.
Strong thumbs.
Hang on. Yeah, strong thumbs. Strong thumbs. So now, how do I change this into a plus, man?
Yes.
I don't want to let go of my gaming. I like the gaming culture. How? Wala tansa nasibaka min dunya. Don't forget your portion of the dunya.
Because we want to see this kid specifically.
What's the ideal
Our
then?
goal is that he's 6 hours on, he gets paid for it solid, so that look here, you can go on with your life, you can spend time with your family, you can, it's a permissible means of income, but that's 6 hours of a skill used in a certain way, because there was that balance across the board.
This requires massive responsibility and maturity.
No, man. I think, another thing about this, another aspect to this gaming culture that's worrisome for me is that people people who should be mentors and sources of guidance, right? like parents and just older people generally and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? They sometimes don't see the need to, because the child is not doing something awful. They're not taking drugs. They're not doing.
It's like with many other things, they don't
Coming back to the same
understand
point there, man.
the depth
Sorry.
of it, man, of the issue.
the
Remember,
nature. Yeah. To them
المرء
it's maybe
مقيس على نفسه.
yeah.
You thinking of Mario Brothers, PlayStation. Back in that time, we didn't have this type of problem. At
But
least
Mullah,
it wasn't so big. So you wouldn't understand the extent of the issue because you can't relate to it. So you think it's as harmless as it was back in the day. But this is an obsession. And it's like when we ask, when we pray, when we make dua, we are taught, don't just ask Allah for rizq. Ask Allah for rizqan tayyiba, for good rizq, good sustenance. Because you don't know if that million rand is going to be good for you. You want $1 million.
No.
But you don't know if it's going to be good for you. You don't know how you're going to be if you have it.
Yeah.
Why? Because it requires responsibility and maturity. So here,
But Mullah, this is what I'm trying to
this
say.
is a permissible thing, but only to a certain extent. Beyond that,
But this is what I'm trying to say. That's the same for any culture. I'm telling you, I've worked with
It's
youth
true,
no,
yes.
who also lost connection with all of their family. No? They don't make salah. They're spending hours on end. If they're not sleeping, then they're busy with this thing. And it's other things like surfing, skateboarding, whatever, man. So any culture that they're being, that they're immersing themselves in
I
completely to a
disagree.
point. I understand that with the gaming culture, there's a lot of other elements. That's why I mentioned earlier, there's things that feed the nafs in like a whole other way. That, look here, there's so much harms attached to it. There's more harms to it than a guy that's going surfing. I understand that. There's a lot other harms. But what I'm saying is that it's a real culture on the ground that you can't exactly take out. And the ideal, or at least like the conversation we should be having with our youth is that, look here, number one, besides the dangers of online and whatever, the dangers of anything, the balance and the imbalance, man. Look here, this whole thing is becoming the axis
I
of your life.
fully understand what you're saying, but I also disagree. I actually agree with Zakaria. I think that
Allah.
Wow. This is
I'm with
amazing,
Brother
man.
Ahmad. I'm with Brother Ahmad.
it's
It
not
doesn't-
the
it
same
doesn't-
across everything. You know why this is unique? It's because, number one, this is a complete world in
That's
and of itself.
exactly what I was
Different
gonna
world. No, yes. You're
No,
100%
Salim,
right.
look, Salim,
You're
I agree.
100%
No,
right.
it creates
And
a-
the dangers are more, man.
And this is what I'm going to tell
The
you.
dangers are
The
more.
world, drugs is a whole different world.
Yeah, that's
Gambling,
haram. We're
hear
not
me out.
talking about, look
I
here,
know.
that's something else.
I
You're talking about
know.
haram stuff now. We're talking about in the ambit of the things which are technically permissible
Yes.
and becomes a culture or a sport or something like that. That obsession, it's limited. It's a limited obsession. It's not an entire realm, a virtual realm where you can get married and you can build a family and you can sleep with someone. You can, you know what I mean? It's not it's somewhat
Yeah,
different in that sense.
So
It's
that's
like
exactly what I'm
it's
going
a
to say.
virtual reality.
The difference with the gaming culture is that it's a culture that's growing, right? More and more people are taking to it. It's becoming a large part of their lives. Secondly, it creates an alternate reality, right? And when you buy into that alternate type of reality, right? When you buy into that type of reality, then your purpose essentially becomes the purpose of whatever the game wants you to achieve.
True.
When you
Right.
bind
That's-
to great,
That's true.
right?
True.
And so that's why it's not just the same as any other culture.
Yeah.
Most other cultures, yes, you can be heavily invested in. You're heavily invested in your surfing. Okay, not so heavily invested, but I'm a bit invested in my
Nah,
coffee.
come, I'm so
Yeah.
heavily and you not so heavily.
Like people have the different things that they invest in, but this is different in that sense, man.
It still keeps you in reality because it's a real thing.
Yeah, and also, there's a lot of like other needs that a human being has that
That
you
are
can't
fulfilled.
just fulfill in a virtual reality. So there's the question.
Yeah, before
Okay.
the question, first and foremost, Jazakumullah khairan again for joining us. And do kindly take note of all the effort that is going into the studio. There are costs involved. If you want to be part of this venture and see this type of benefit reach other people, and you believe that the Isnad Academy is doing good work, you can show your support, inshallah, by donating towards us and our, when I say us again, Isnad Academy, the platform, not us as in individuals sitting here. Believe you me, when I saw some monies coming through, it was spent like within a couple of hours on the studio because I didn't even want to leave it in the account. So yeah, that's that. Maar Zakaria, the question that came up was, so what's the solution?
I don't know all the solutions.
Can I just say one thing?
But one solution that I do want to share is that I think we need to do a number of things. Mentorship needs to become ever more prevalent, right? People, and I don't just mean mentorship from the seniors down, but people, people of the same age, colleagues need to realize that they have responsibilities towards each other. And mentorship can come in that form, right? And then, so I think we need to promote more actual social activity. We need to, try and create avenues of mentorship that are accessible and enjoyable for people. Those are the first things that come to my mind, man.
The reason I was going so on about the fact that there's a whole lot of worlds, man, in this world, right? And I didn't mention drugs and gambling and whatever from the perspective of halal and haram, man. Simply because for a lot of our own Muslim youth, what's halal and what's haram isn't a factor. It's what they can and they can't do based on what they have access to, man. I'm talking of someone who's at that point of ghafla in the sense that Allah doesn't even factor in my life, man. Now for him, there's all the worlds. There's the gaming, there's the drugs, there's the this, there's the that. Right? Which, yes, some is permissible, some is impermissible. Likewise, when you go onto your device, there's some things that's permissible and some things that's impermissible. Right? But now what happens is, and just in light of the solutions, from a solution perspective, is that often when somebody is addicted or consumed by something, the starting point is to get grounded in a reality, man. Or in the reality. So what I've found effective with coaching youth, right, is to not come from the perspective where everyone else in their lives is coming from. What are you doing so much in front of the game? You can't be so much in front of the game. You know what this game is going to do to you? You know what? Look here. What do you want to get out of this game? Okay, now I want to get paid for it, for example. Okay, what do you need to get paid for it? Okay, you want to do that. Okay, but now do you understand, right? Do you understand that if you continue this route, look at what happened to your relationship with your parents. Look at what happened to your relationship with them. Look at what... And now you start to bring to light the reality of things that are being sacrificed. Because remember a while back I told you have to give up to go up, right? One of the quotes is about a bitchy whatever. You have to give up to go up. So even in the gaming world, man, you want to be spending more time there. You want to get better. Like Mullah Zakaria said, your character must go higher. This must improve, and you must invest in your armies, and you must whatever.
Right? But you're out of touch with the games that people are actually playing. That's why you're making up weird examples.
Tell us what games are people playing in the comment section. Let us know. I can think of Fortnite.
Nah, they're playing Fortnite. PUBG. They're playing PUBG. They're playing Call of Duty. You guys can comment anything else, but I think those are the famous ones.
You're saying all the same games,
Clash
man.
of Clans.
That's like the same type of strategy games are there as well.
Okay, what else do people play?
Dota's another one.
The reason why you get into an obsession that is an addiction.
Let me just finish this quickly.
No.
Okay.
This is part of what you're saying. Okay, it's core. The reason why you get into that in the first place is because there's something missing.
True.
There's a lack of something.
True. But I'm saying from a solutions perspective, when you have a kid like this, the starting point is like acknowledgement, man. Look here, this is where you are, right? When you bring the reality, I've seen this work. Tell them, right, okay, put down, this is your 24 hours. Put down how much of that you're spending with the game. Then, what else are you busy with now? Okay, school, this, that, and the other. They don't see the relevance to that because they actually see a future for them in the gaming.
It's like, not everybody though.
Okay.
How many ladies that play games?
No, a lot too.
That's what I'm telling you, Molina.
No, do you hear what I'm asking? I'm asking how many ladies that play games see themselves as a gamer in the future and get paid for it.
And ask them how many of you want to become professional gamers.
Besides gaming, and getting money from actually gaming.
What high aspirations
you see what I mean? These 33-year-olds, subhanallah, they're out of touch.
Now we need to bring,
I was out of touch.
We need to bring some youth into the show and actually to discuss with us. But just hear me out. Also, there's the thing about starting a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we easy.
Now you're starting a YouTube channel. Everybody's watching you game. Whether you got picked to play on a team or not, you're monetizing in that way as well. So people see a lot of ways to actually earn, man. I'm telling you, they see it as a viable
No, but
option.
that's okay.
Right? So now what I'm saying is,
Well,
when you start to point out, just from a solutions perspective, when you start to point out the reality of things, will you at, okay, what are you doing? Is this, how much time you spending over here? Okay, what else would you like to achieve? Do you actually want to get married one day? Okay, do you know how to have a relationship? Do you know how to have a conversation with
Okay,
somebody?
so you basically lay out all the details to them, yeah, and then?
And then you break it down from that perspective and then start to iron out, okay, so what is the next step towards all of these other things that you want to achieve, man?
And then?
And then you start to
You see what
For a lot of ladies-
Ahmed is saying.
I know what he's
Nobody's going to have these conversations with their kid.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
And
then
that's
how
why-
many kids
that's
are
why-
actually going to respond to that?
I'm telling you, when they actually realize it, okay, you know what? Then you bring the reality of, okay, so you drop school either way. Now your parents take away your games because you're not even. There's just different ways, man. And again, it's going to be a person-to-person basis because when you're sitting down in
Ahmed, the reality is, man, youth don't have the people that are going to do that for them.
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm talking
Hear
about.
me
We
out.
need mentorship.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. What works is sitting down with a youngster and doing this.
Who?
Exa-
Stop eating the table. Who?
Sorry, so I'm getting the mentorship,
mentor.
life coaches, reach out to people who have this type of perspective.
see-
There's a lot of people.
You see,
I do it.
A parent must be able to
hear me out.
money,
Yeah.
knowledge of the problem, knowing where to go. I can't see there's going to be a handful of people that's going to do that.
Well,
I need to get a life coach for my child.
I can actually suggest some, things that I found beneficial in my own life.
Can I just finish this? What I was
Okay,
saying.
finish it.
So
You're
reason-
saying a lot
I
for
know, man,
long.
but it's because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah, but they must summarize. I also want a chance.
Okay, tafadhal. But my point is that there are people out there
Yes.
that can help, right?
Absolutely.
Number one,
But on what I'm saying is, on what scale is that going to be a solution, man? You know what I mean? If it's not even recognized as a problem, because what Mona Zakaria was saying earlier on, and it makes a lot of sense, is that people don't see it. Parents don't even see it as an issue because you're not hurting anybody, you're out of danger, you're in the house, you're safe type of thing. You know what I mean? So if you don't even recognize that there's a problem, how are you going to reach out, pay a life coach to come and coach your lady? You know what I mean?
no, but that's a different challenge. The different challenge is people not realizing it's a problem. I'm saying if you realize it's a problem, then a solution is actually being coached through it or mentored through it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And that mentorship can, number one, come from a good coach. That mentorship can come from someone who has experience in a certain role. And then beyond that, the awareness of parents. I think if they're not aware, then we need to raise awareness around it.
Okay. Zakaria?
So, this is a very good contribution. I was actually thinking the same thing, that lockdown kind of perpetuated me.
Sister Sadiq is
Sister
from
Sadiq
Fusion.
Nizam's.
Yes, mashallah.
Mashallah.
Ahlan wa sahlan.
So, the lockdown really contributed. People were locked up in their homes. What could you do? Like, nobody can really have a problem with you for gaming the whole day because what else must you do?
Yeah.
But again, to me, there's some.
I would have karate kid that like, you know what I mean? Like wax on, wax off
No,
all day.
but then also,
Go paint the fence,
Mona,
do
you
something.
in a home.
Yeah.
Okay, I was at home with my one kid,
Mm.
and sometimes you also wish there was like a switch there. Let's say, okay, sleep,
Yeah.
wake up, man. So sometimes when you're in people's space all the time, and then it's not so bad for them to, be able to do something on their own.
Mm.
But one thing that I think is important, and it helped me growing up, and it is not that I was super into gaming and stuff. I was always like a very social person, alhamdulillah. But I mean, I know lots of people in my family that would have been very much into games and stuff like that. But it's having discussions, man, talking. So like, there's a time in the day when, okay, we eat together. There needs to be some form of discipline.
That's a big problem, no?
Yeah.
Families don't communicate. They don't have family time. It's like everybody eats in front of the TV or in front of their phones. So this, again, it comes down to the thing, when something is lacking, then you're going to find it somewhere. You're going to look for it somewhere.
Yeah. So I'm saying a simple solution to that is like, as families, and I mean, people with their parents, siblings, even cousins, whatever, they must just meet each other. That meeting, when you meet people, you also get releases of hormones.
But they can meet online.
No, that's what I'm saying. Meet in real
Through the
life.
game.
Look
Meet
here.
in real life. And you also release those hormones that, that make you feel nice and all of those things. And you'll get some of that fulfillment out of that. But through that as well, man, you're interacting with other people. And generally, when it's a family circle, there's going to be people who have greater maturity than you that can help you and guide you and stuff like that.
Sheikh Salim, you okay, my bro?
My history of games. My mommy came one day with the Sega game home, and that Sega, that original Segas. Maybe I was super stoked now. And my daddy came home from work, and brand new game. And he said, "Cool so. Wat is die?" Vat hy ding nou weer terug na die winkel toe. Like immediately. It just unboxed. Yes, it was 30 odd years ago. Don't give away
20
the age
odd
there.
years ago.
But I mean,
50.
But I mean, many a time, the kids get to a certain age, man. And this is just how it is. Mommy and daddy need a break. I want to go sleep a bit late after Fajr, but this laddie is awake already and he's jackering me. Yeah, take the phone, go play a bit there, then I can go sleep. Besides the gaming culture itself, what is our contribution to the perpetuation of that gaming culture in the context of our homes? We can't speak about, what is so much out there and we can't speak for them out there. But I mean, I need a bit peace and quiet because I want to sleep for 2 hours, man. Yeah, take the tablet.
This is a very funny comment. What if I make tasbih and istighfar while playing a strategy game?
As long as you connecting yourself to Allah properly. I'm not going to lie, there were times when I watched the soccer game. Yeah, Allah, please make this team win.
No, look here. I play Clash of Clans. I'm a Sidna. But okay, I don't play it a lot anymore. My team knows that. But sometimes,
Are you like a let-down guy now? You failed the team.
No, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, when the war started,
but
don't pitch up.
Yeah, that's quite possible. But the thing is, like, if you think you've got a problem, you probably do, as far as this is concerned. And it's a difficult thing to strike a balance with because it requires maturity. But I'd like to add a possible solution that I think is somewhat overlooked in this discussion so far, is that the importance of physical activity, man, and sports. Get your kids involved in sports, man, like healthy sports.
I'm going to jump in here,
no, you can't jump in.
Look here.
That's what I was looking like he's ready to jump from the first.
One thing you don't understand is that you saying...
I'm still talking.
Just hear me out, go.
No.
Okay, Tafakkur.
We need to get them involved in sports because like Mona Zakaria said, communication, social groups, get them speaking. No. That happens when you play team sports. It needs to be done in a healthy way and in a way that is structured, and you need to obey the laws of Allah, of course. But I think sports is very good, and
I think Ahmad's going to get to the fact that how do you get the child from there into sports?
No, almost there. For the first time, I agree with I disagree with all of you, right? Other than Mullah Salim, because he's kind of nodding with all of us at the same time. But my point is, that you don't understand. I'm sitting with this, where the parent comes and the parent knows he must interact. You're saying let them socialize with people. You are saying they must have social activity. So those are solutions. But the challenge that's on the ground is, Coach Ahmed, I can't actually get my child out of that seat. That's a whole other problem.
They can.
So the solution...
They can switch electricity off in that room.
Yeah, look at that's a whole different thing. Upskilling yourself as a parent, right? So solution number one, upskill yourself as a parent. We're facing a different set of challenges in terms of our youth. We can't use the same set of skills in terms of parenting.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
We have a new set of challenges in terms of our youth. We can't use the same set of
it's like
skills
very funny for me
in terms of our parenting.
Say it again.
That comment, the comment's very good.
It's very funny for me because look here, what he's saying, nah? Okay, we'll first read a bit there.
So, I mean, here's an example.
Before you say something, nah? What I was thinking about that, what Ahmed just said now about the parenting.
I was like holding myself in, can I please finish?
Didn't you finish
no,
it? Yeah,
brother.
Rob.
Okay, look here. Let's just switch off.
Yeah, it's like you should start the Ahmed Speaks podcast.
I think I had too much coffee. But
wrap
one last
it
point
up
behind
at
it.
least.
So the parents, number one, can't get the kids out there, right? So parents, upskill yourselves. Number two is get external help. It is there. Look for external help.
Oh,
upskill
yes, absolutely,
yourself,
Dr. Yusuf.
Right? And then the youth themselves, it's not about getting them into these activities. It's getting them to understand the reality of these activities and the activities they're depriving themselves of. Because when a child himself gets the reality of, I need fitness at least a bitchy, that's when they'll start. Not when my parents tell me to go to gym.
Now, bro, you did have too much coffee.
Like I'm not
Look
even
here.
speaking about fitness and all this stuff, man. I'm just saying.
No, even
there
a
is
social interaction.
I'm just saying, people need to get taken out of that alternate realm.
Yeah.
The
People
virtual
need to
reality.
understand they must leave that realm.
Yeah, but they're not going to leave it whilst they're engrossed in it. They need to be.
No,
They need help.
they're
They need to
not.
get taken out of it. I want to just go back to that comment.
It's very important.
Sister Rushana Sheikh.
Also.
It's very important to
just
know.
the comment of Sister Rushana Sheikh that we had on the
Which
on
one?
the thing earlier.
This one.
Yeah, the idea of the lockdown, because I said the lockdown
Okay,
also
yeah.
contributed to that. The difference in this situation is, as she says, that she found it a good time to be present because she was home.
She could
That
parent.
comes down to parenting.
She could
Yeah.
parent.
But like I said, that's that mentorship that I'm speaking about. And it's something that is severely lacking in the world.
Yeah. So the parenting thing, in the last 50 years, in the last 50 years, how much has the world changed?
A lot.
Yo, me bro.
Just answer that
Bro.
question quickly.
Okay. Completely.
Exponentially.
Completely.
If I must talk to a youngster today about the world 50 years ago, they won't even be able to understand it.
Exactly.
Without internet,
So
without
50
Wi-Fi.
years ago, the youngsters were
Like
after what?
my
Elvis? Is that about right? Elvis,
Probably
Beatles?
because I wasn't born
50.
that
Look,
time.
only Salim was around that time.
No, wait. What is 50
Wow.
years ago
I
from
was
now?
Oh.
That is older.
What is 50 years ago from now?
So you just spilled the buta here.
What
but
is 50 years ago from
Okay,
now?
leave 50 years, man. 30 years ago.
No, I want to go 50 years ago. You know why?
1970.
Okay, yeah. Let's go 30 years ago. Fine, 30 years ago. What
I was
the world that
1990.
you know of 30 years ago was the world that your parents brought you up in. You can't use the same strategy.
True, 100%.
You can't use the same techniques. You can certainly learn from it, and there's certainly values in there that you can implement. But you also need to step up because there are new challenges which you have. And look, all of us are in this together, man. Like we're all figuring it out. Yeah, we couple of 30-somethings and a lighty, just sitting here trying to figure things out, in a conversation. What's still about a
Shouting at my car.
40-year-old, 50-year-old mom, dad now thinking like, they don't even get the beginning of this thing. Where does this even come from?
I'm sure these people,
That's what I'm
there's
saying.
people listening to this thing, I'm sure there's old people thinking like, okay, I don't call them old people. What's the
Uncles and aunties.
no, what's
More
the
senior.
what's the no, what's the
Matured.
social what's the
Matured.
social
Oh,
media
the
work-
PC.
the
PC
geezers?
word. Huh?
Is it geezers?
Ja, salam.
I'm just
Dis om
joking.
beskof mee, bro.
No, but
Here's a consoling thought. The parents of 30 years ago are just as confused about all of this, of all of the challenges,
nah, I don't think so.
as we are now of our challenges.
Nah, I don't think so. Sam.
And they dealt with it as best as they could.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Neither
What
world.
challenge did
One.
you have? What challenges did you have when you were 17, 18?
That's why I say the parents of that time had to govern.
Different.
Had to
No,
govern.
what were the challenges?
What are the challenges?
Oh,
Peer
that's
pressure.
an awkward question.
Okay,
Peer
peer
pressure.
pressure.
Yeah.
No, what is it? What was
Too much
Females.
sport. Females.
too much sport, females, drugs?
Yeah, not gaming.
Yeah.
That wasn't a challenge at the time.
Those are the challenges.
Because
you
the
had to-
gaming, as we said earlier, was more people interaction, man. It's two people next to one another playing
Yeah,
a
that
game.
wasn't it.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
So,
gaming
you
wasn't.
mentioned those issues, right?
Ah.
And those issues were maybe prevalent in society to a great degree.
Mm.
A lot of promiscuity was very accessible and stuff like that, right? If I go ask my dad, what are the problems in when you were growing up? He's gonna tell me. Okay,
It's the same stuff.
In addition
It
to
was the same
apartheid, and all of those challenges that they had, like from that perspective,
Racism,
right?
that was a big challenge.
Yeah.
But
But
for
they're
them.
gonna tell me also
Mm.
The
that
same
there's
stuff.
females, there were drugs, there were things like that. Maybe to a lesser degree. What I'm saying is now the problems of a completely different nature.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. You can still picture lighties in the 70s clubbing together and going to buy a hustler at the shop.
Maybe
Getting
wine,
a
yeah.
18-year-old. That's the access to pornography.
Yeah, or wine, or stuff like that. Man. But
And that's why I was saying earlier that at that time, as a parent, you had to limit the access to certain.
Can I ask a question? How many parents here that's watching now know about things like incognito mode? If incognito mode means nothing to you,
Yeah,
just
you're reading
give a
trouble.
comment. I would love to know. Incognito, that's the one thing. What else?
no,
I can tell you this: if your child have a password on their phone, you're in trouble. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I agree with
I
you.
put my head on the table here that I mustn't eat. I already
But
said
you
it.
did.
If your child have a password on their phone, they shouldn't have a phone. If your child have a password on their computer, they shouldn't have a computer. Klaar.
Yeah.
If you can't access your child's device, then your child is in danger and need help.
Sister Takhira, that wasn't me. I didn't present that workshop. I heard about it. I think it was Mullah Muhammad Kaur. I can't recall, but it wasn't me. I read the book though. Amazing book.
Make me
Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. Sorry, yeah, read the book if you didn't. If you have a daughter, read that book. And I believe there's another one, Strong Mothers, Strong Sons. Excellent book.
Subhanallah, I had that. I had the strong mother, wallahi. I know I'm not a strong son, but
yeah, the two of you strong mothers.
Always a legend.
Yeah, strong father, strong mother.
My mom, you see the access.
I
Just look
certainly
at
had
this
a
now.
strong father.
You know what I
as well,
just said now?
subhanallah.
If you can't go into your child's phone, your child shouldn't have a phone. My mommy had that when there wasn't phones. She told us straight, you can go to any of your friends, but I must be able to come in there. If I can come in there with you and I can walk in and I can be there for a bit, or I can walk out and I can come in at any time. If you're happy with me walking in and out of where you are, no problem, you can go. But if you tell me now I can't come there in, then you're not allowed to go. Just think about that. Now apply that to a phone. You give a child a phone. And I know a father who did this. He said, you can have this phone, my boy, as long as there's not a password on it.
Yeah, I know parents who gave the child a phone, and then at night they must hand the phone in. So they can use the phone all day, but then at night, at a certain time, they give the phone back, and that phone can be accessed by the parents, like they can actually check what's on the phone.
So the answer, to be honest, the overriding answer is parenting. Tarbiyah. The results is never going to be in your hands. And this is what I tell parents all the time. I have to mention this.
Brother Shamil, I don't think that is the difference about can't afford. Even if you could afford at that time, it's a completely different thing.
But the point
So
that I
the
was
different
making,
thing that you were
the point,
spending on,
the point.
What's
that
it?
I
There was a
making
movie. There was a movie, Ready Player One. Is that it? About gaming.
I don't know.
I don't know. No.
I just know
Yes.
that recently there was a movie about gaming, but it's like it's the raya of what we can imagine where this is going to lead to. Something about where society. 1 second.
Well, Mullah's doing that now. I'm gonna tell parents, don't.
When society no longer exists in the real world, everything is virtual. So you plug yourself in like the Matrix, man. You go in and then that's the world you live in. That's your reality. Your dopamine, everything you get from that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell, the overriding
I'm
thing.
sorry for like derailing this whole.
No, but you're right, man, because you see, the mentorship element you're talking about is actually what? It's actually that parenting, that tarbiyah, that, there's a process that the child must be
It's
in.
not a derailing, man.
But-
we spoke about this because the Quran speaks about ghafla
No.
and it speaks about yala'abun.
Yeah.
No. And it spoke about the fact that,
heedlessness and mindfulness and playing.
yeah, and the end is drawing near. Your reckoning is drawing near.
Oh,
The reckoning of your-
that other verse that I was looking at in Surah Hajj, the beginning of Surah Hajj.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like the very same. What did I say? I said that in the past, the verses were also there, but the meanings were different because of the context. Now we understand وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مُعْرِضُونَ, and the hour will come while they are in the heedlessness turning about.
Yeah,
We
right.
understand it in a different way now.
Yeah.
The same thing with Surah Hajj. وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى. It will be like the people are drunk, but they're not really drunk.
Ajib. And you see, now, I just want to put this out there, man. To parents, remember.
No coffee for Ahmed before shows anymore, Kanala. I agree. Shukran.
Yeah, but you're supposed to have the coffee like before at sahur time.
It's okay, man. Leave the coffee topic for another day because that's definitely derailing. Let me finish this point.
Can I mute him? If anybody here thinks that I must mute him.
Nah.
From Quran, Surah Nuh, not Surah Nuh, Nabi Nuh, from Quran, I want to tell parents the following. As much as you're going to do, I'm saying, do your best. The answer is tarbiyah, nurturing, raising your kids, bringing that awareness to them. If you can't do it yourself, get external help, reach out to people. I'm saying I'm doing it. I work with people that also do it. There are circles, man. But I do agree the challenges that this world has already put forward is far ahead of where we have even started with the solutions. But there are solutions that have started, and there is help that you can reach out for. But at the end of the day, always remember this, that the result of what your children is going to turn out to be, wallahi al-azim, is not in your hands. And I must say this because parents lose themselves. And we don't understand that your children, I know I'm taking a slightly different turn, but your children is as much of a threat to your akhirah as wealth. People go down such an avenue, so overwhelmingly concerned about their kids and the results and this, that, and the other, that they themselves neglect their responsibilities towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and their own
Yeah,
faith.
look,
But what I want to mention
you
is, what I want to-
can't blame yourself for that. You only responsible for the effort that's in your
Yeah, no,
control.
look,
And the reason
But
I
we
mentioned
all-
Nabi Nuh,
we all
the
trying
reason
to
I mentioned
figure it
Nabi Nuh,
out.
the reason I mentioned Nabi Nuh is he did everything he could, and his son
I'm
still
gonna give
didn't
him a
accept.
mic to take home.
Yeah, no,
and
you
a
know, I
recorder.
actually think, Ahmed, the reality, you know, just in terms of assessment of how reality is, that's by and large not the case, man.
What is this?
The bigger case in our society is not over-concerned parenting. The bigger concern is actually absent parenting, or like,
Absent parenting or incompetent parenting.
yeah.
Yeah, but
And,
no, I'm not.
No, there
mentioning
are
that, like,
definitely those people in society, but and it's important. You must never get cut up about it. The results are always in the hands of Allah. Yes, that's all them. I want to throw another question into work.
No, the reason I must just rectify you. The reason I mention that is when you do something, you're not absent parenting. Now you watch this broadcast or this podcast, you're listening to it or whatever. You realize, okay, I want to do something. You try something, it doesn't work. You stop. You give up. Now because you gave up, simply
we
because
all see the comments.
Put it on.
We all see the comments. Which one do you want?
That second last one there.
Ahmad for president.
look here, man.
Ahmed
If
for
you,
president.
Okay, you must stop being so. What's
if
the name
you
of your mouth?
let me finish, then maybe I'll make sense to the people. The reason I bring it up is because if you take into perspective,
You don't have to stay on. You're more than welcome to log off with Joel.
you-
Nah, welcome to our people. We don't let them.
Hey?
If
No,
there's
I'm
benefit, they
saying
must
you
stay
don't
with
have to stay on.
If there's benefit, they must stay with us.
so if you take into consideration that the results isn't in your hands, it actually motivates those absent parents to keep going, man. Because another reality I deal with is parents that say, look here, man, I tried but nothing happened, so it's clear, man. The result wasn't in your hand, it's upon you to just keep trying, man. So those parents who realize now maybe, okay, I should start parenting. Like I said the other day, I don't know if I said it on here or in that other show, but anyway, I was saying that parents...
No comment.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, being a mother or a father is a biological definition. Parenting is a verb.
Bro, you said it.
You did say it a
Okay.
couple of
Yeah, a
times.
couple of
So
times.
it takes action, man. You have to do. And whatever little you're going to do, the result was never in your hand, man. Just keep doing. That's the point I wanted to say.
I want to throw another question.
Don't
to
give
you,
up. Look for help. Ask.
No, no,
stop
no,
doing.
No.
Okay, I'm clear now. I'm gonna switch my mic
Don't
off.
your questions. Keep it for.
No.
My bro.
Salim, wait a minute.
You also not.
Wait,
you
no,
also don't have to stay.
listen.
You now said you're going to switch your mic off. You couldn't even
Listen,
resist
I
for
just wanna-
3
Salim,
seconds.
look here, people listen to this. There might be youth having listened to this, right? All the solutions we presented were for people to help those youth. But if there's a youngster, to me, if there's a youngster that listened to this podcast, that means he wants something good for himself. And why can't we speak about what solutions are there for the actual person that finds himself in that culture and recognizes it as a problem? You want to talk about it another time? I'm just saying, we here already talking late. So what is
I said join a part-time Islamic institute and you'll meet up with a different circle of friends and you'll find out that there's a real world that exists. That's a very practical solution.
Yeah.
There are
Ask for help.
people who are just like you, who also want solutions, and this is a very positive place to find it in. There are many options available. Online, no. You already got the online problem. You need to get offline.
Yeah, get into a physical class.
You know, that's one solution that I can think of.
I would also say
I do
ask for
think
help.
sports. You said, nah? You said,
Oh yeah, sorry.
but you lied. I think sports is a very important one because you need to get, how can I say, you need to get out of that space, man. You're too sedentary. You need to get moving. You know, get moving. Oops. And that's two that I can think of.
Yeah. No, that's actually where I was going to go in. And it actually stems from thinking about Surah Kahf. That those youth,
Yeah.
they had a problem. And the solution to their trial in faith was company. And so how does somebody get company, man? Especially now youth that they haven't been in social circles. It's like maybe they're socially awkward. They don't have social skills. How on earth must I get new company? Like that's going to mean I have to talk to people, like real people.
Have to actually greet.
Yeah.
Not say SLM.
So I mean, what I would suggest is that I agree, part-time Islamic course, but that may sound intimidating to some, especially to youngsters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say, like, especially if you in a youth bracket, right? Join some youth activity, like Mullah Muhammad Khan, they have My Ink.
Right.
Join something like My Ink. so that nobody actually, when you come in there, nobody expects you to make friends with anyone. They don't expect you to know anyone. They don't expect you to do anything actually.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, you will make friends.
Ahmed, you also run youth camps regularly, isn't it so?
Yeah, youth mastery.
Yeah.
So
No, not the coaching thing. I mean like actual camps.
Yeah, also.
Okay.
So Nai is doing it under youth.
Oh,
mastery.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The events, the coaching.
So inshallah, Ahmed, if you want to know about the camps, do you have anything lined up after Ramadan?
Yeah, we can start the Isnad Academy camp also. All the youth that was
Why
watching
not?
the Isnad
Why not?
Academy
Let
camp.
us know if you're interested,
We have a team
inshallah.
of youth. We actually have a team of youth, right? That just like is busy leaving the teens, and at the end of the teens, has actually been trained up to work with other youth in programs like this, man. And then
join the Ignite the Leader course. Good vibes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, at Fusion as
nice,
well.
Nice initiatives, mashallah.
Ignite the Leader. And so there's Fusion, there's Youth Uncapped, there's My Inc., there's Youth. This is my answer to saying there's help, man. Go out. And his point of getting into one of these organizations is because they have activities that facilitate that interaction that you intimidated of. You're intimidated by, how must I go talk to people? If you join one of these youth groups, they actually facilitate the discussion. And they teach you how to talk to other youth.
That I still really
Somebody's asking for me to place the info in the bio, please. We don't have info. We're saying like...
just type the names of those
the
places.
youth organizations. Man.
Oh, okay. I thought they meant of the camp.
My Inc.
Okay, so
Nia
Sister
Youth
Sadika,
Foundation.
I'm sorry to do this to you, but if you can just type the names of that places, I'll put the comment up on the screen, inshallah.
And then
There was
so there's one thing
All of them,
that I think
inshallah.
is absent from our society to some degree. That I think our society will do very good with. Family camps.
We don't have that.
We don't have it at all.
Ah.
We're like, parents can do their own thing. There'll be stuff for the ladies, programs for the ladies, programs for the men alone, programs for couples, programs for, the children, like whole families, then programs happening for the children, teenagers, young professionals, all like on one weekend or like, one long weekend or something, but family camps.
we do it at Youth Mastery.
Do you do family camps?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. In the beginning of this year, we
Do
had
you know that the Prophet ﷺ predicted all of this?
Sallallahu
It's achievement. Tuwasilul al-baq, the dishes will be speaking to each other. Person will leave their homes, not want to speak to the people at home, but will speak to their thighs.
Ajib.
Tu'aradul fitan ala al-hasir, udan. The fitan will be presented to people on little square mats. I'm so envious of Mizan's men's camp.
I actually spoke to Mullah Khalil about this, and I said, Mullah Naiman, this is not right, man.
What?
We must have also. That's actually where I discussed the idea of those family camps and stuff with Mizan.
Okay.
Because I thought we had a bit of the infrastructure to do it. So inshallah, maybe there'll be Mizan family camps.
Inshallah.
So maybe we'll have a Isnad Academy camp after Ramadan. Okay, look here. We are going to be going into the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Monday night is the 21st night. It's the first possible Laylatul Qadr. That's very soon. And I'm inviting the brothers here. They don't know what, but I'm inviting them to come and have the podcast in the masjid there on the nights that we're normally on, inshallah. And then we'll have some people there. Obviously, we can only fill the masjid to the capacity that it's allowed. There will be a program of tahajjud. Maulana Salim will be reciting the full Quran in the last 10 nights. Inshallah. We pray that Allah Ta'ala grant us a successful ending of Ramadan.
Amen.
And we must make a lot of dua, man. Because as much as we're trying to figure stuff out, the solution is with Allah. If Allah Ta'ala doesn't grant us His mercy,
And His
Inna
guidance.
nafsa la'ammaratun bisu'i illa ma rahima rabbi. The nafs will... So yes, we must continue the conversation. We must try to figure things out, but we must also know that there's a higher power that's in charge of all of this. And He knows in His divine and infinite wisdom and knowledge why things are the way they are. We puzzled. No one has all the answers. No one has all the solutions. If the world could change so rapidly in 50 years, who on earth could have played catch up? But we shouldn't give up hope and we shouldn't stop trying. But we must pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pray to Allah in these last 10 nights, man. Don't just pray for your own self and for your own lighties and for your neighbor's lighties. No, you must pray for the ummah. Look how the Anbiya used to pray. You know, look how Maryam alayhi used to pray for a child. وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. I take refuge in you, O Allah, for her. This is Maryam's mother, right? I take refuge in you, O Allah, for her and her progeny from the accursed Satan. You know, I honestly believe that there must have been some great-grandfather or great-grand-uncle or someone who made a dua for me that saved my life from going down the path
was
that
the
I
norm
was
of the
going.
prophets, even Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Yeah, it was the norm, yeah, absolutely. And we have to have that concern because it's a different world, man. It's a different world. It's a reality. The Quran, look here, we can't look past this. All of us sitting here, we were highly affected by the Quran. That was my first thought, was like, look here, get into an Islamic organization, an Islamic learning institute, part-time, something like that. Because the Quran, even though we can't articulate it, but the Quran has the answers.
Yeah, we didn't even speak about, the secondary challenges that come from living online. But inshallah. Salim is looking at me with that daggers in. I was like, Zakaria.
I think we must maybe just do like a specific podcast, right?
We can do that
in
after
a series
Ramadan.
Of the following. Number one, let the youth themselves mention the challenges. Like actually hear them. Like if it's about them but without them, then is it really for them? So we get them on, let them talk about those challenges.
That's also a good space.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and what does the Tabligh Jama'at do? It takes you out of that. You know,
okay, but we're not done here what the Tabligh Jama'at do now.
I know, I'm just taking, I'm saying the concept of taking them out of this space. I mean, that's why even we find that youth camps and things are effective because you take them out of the environment, man. And they have a chance to really, vision for themselves or envision for themselves something different.
We had at Masjid al-Munawwar back in the day, we had end of year things. Zacharias was still part of it. So
how used to come?
I mean, if you think about it, right? We had a New Year's Eve thing for children
at the mosque.
At the mosque.
Yeah.
And people thought, who's going to come in? Because all the masajid, not all the masajid, but all the places are closed. Islamic organization, everything is closed. Everybody's on holiday. So people thought it's going to be a colossal failure because who's going to want to come there? Mm. You guys know it was extremely popular and well received. Because
with gaming and all.
With gaming, with adventure, everything, amazing race. Why? Because it was a genuine alternative, and that showed that people are looking for alternatives. It's just very difficult to run.
There's so much out there. For any, look at just really like put my number there in the comments. There's a frag alternatives for all the spectrums. Okay, like young girls, this program specifically designed for them. Young boys, parents. If you are struggling as a parent, there's a lot of help, man. I'm saying like there is so much out there, and if you are reaching, then just like drop me a message. We can direct you to one of these organizations or one of these people that are capable to assist in that regard.
Yeah, I don't have your number there right now, but I'm going to put on my number because I have it already in a comment. Oops, no, it's my brother's number. I saw it somewhere now.
Just type it through there, man.
There we go. You can just send a message, voice note, etc., and then I'll put you in contact with all of these things. Inshallah, we will talk about this again. Jazakumullah khairan for joining us. For those of you who stayed and really want to go sleep, Allah place khair and barakah in your sleep. For those of you who are falling asleep already, Allah Ta'ala grant you a Naum Salim.
Ameen.
وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.